You most likely clicked on this video because you're an individual who perceives themselves as negative, or you perceive life itself to be negative. And I'm here to tell you that you need to stop identifying with this negativity. You are not your anxiety nor your depression. And I know that may sound a little bit insensitive, but I'm simply just trying to say that stop making self-destruction your personality, because that's nothing but a coping mechanism for the fact that you genuinely wish to seek love within yourself. And identifying with negativity, being a negative individual, is nothing but a punishment, and that leads to nothing but a unhappy and unfulfilling life. You identify with your negativity so much that when you see, really joyful people, you deem them as overly happy and you get annoyed. And, in reality, there's no such thing, as overly happy or overly joyful. It's not that they're overly happy. You're simply just being negative. You're simply just negative. They are not overly happy. And since you perceive overly happy people as annoying, it's simply just out of the fact that you wish to seek what they have within yourself. Since they are overly happy and you're perceiving it in such a negative way, you're getting annoyed, that's all coming from a place of hurt and a place of lack. You aren't able to perceive life in the same way that those overly happy people are perceiving it. And just a while ago, before I acquired this knowledge that I'm going to share with you guys, I really struggled with, having a negative identity. And, I held on to a negative identity because of, my circumstances in life. I basically just let life shape me into a negative individual, when in reality, it never had to be that way. And I'm very proud of myself that I overcame that. And I'm just going to be sharing with you guys basically how I did that. And through this information that I'm going to share with you guys, I have been able to just make life more fulfilling for myself and live a more happy and meaningful life. As someone who has struggled with depression, diagnosed by the way. All throughout high school, I'm here to tell you that this advice genuinely works. Well, at least for me it did, and I was someone who thought it would be impossible for me to have the perception that I do on life currently. I have a very positive approach when it comes to life now because of the steps that I took. I'm currently editing right now, but I just wanted to quickly mention something since we're, speaking on positivity. Along this journey of me becoming a more positive individual, I feel like I'm at a point where, I have so much positivity and love within that those things just naturally, flow out of me and project onto others. And it's not even, me consciously doing that. Like when you just become a more positive individual, people will be able to sense your positive aura, and they will be able to pick up on that. And with this, you're going to be able to, impact the lives of others. How they feel as well. It sort of rubs off on other individuals. So I just wanted to mention that because I don't know, I just feel like that's just such an amazing feeling to be able to do something like that. And like I feel like I say in almost all my videos, do not feel like this advice is beneath you. It's going to sound very simple, but it just quite literally is that simple. Not everything has to be hard. I mean, it sounds simple, but like I always say, it's a lot easier said than done. Remembering to do these things is a lot more difficult than actually, just sitting here and listening to it. So yeah, don't assume that this advice can't be applicable to your life if you haven't even tried it. You don't even know. Without further ado, let me just, share with you guys what I've done. One of the most important things for you to consider is that perception is everything. How you perceive yourself and how you perceive your external reality is going to determine the frequency at which you are vibrating on. So if you perceive life to be bad, negative, painful, then you are going to live a bad, negative, painful life because of how you are perceiving it. And when you are perceiving your life to be negative, it's simply distracting you from, being able to perceive the things that are actually positive in your life. In order to live a more positive life, you first off need to stop constantly telling yourself that life is negative. Because, the more you tell yourself that life is negative, it's going to become a belief. What you constantly tell yourself over time will become a belief. And since you perceive life to be negative, you are going to have a bad life. And now, having a bad life is going to be a part of your identity. So let me give you guys an analogy or, an example that could kind of, give you, an idea of what I'm saying. So let's say quarantine, for example. We have some people, which were most people, who perceive quarantine to be a negative thing, in which I know it's not, completely a positive thing, but like I said, it's all about how you perceive it. So yes, we have people who perceived quarantine to be a negative thing, lots of isolation, which led to depression, sadness, people eating their lives away, and just wasting, a lot of time and engaging in really bad habits because of their circumstances. And then on the other hand, we have people who viewed quarantine as an opportunity. A lot of people got into self-improvement during quarantine. A lot of people started working out at home during quarantine. A lot of people picked up new skills. A lot of people, engaged in a lot of positive things during quarantine, and they made the most of the situation. The other group of people perceive quarantine as a negative thing, like, oh, I'm in the house, like, there's nothing I can do. I'm on lockdown, like, I can't leave the house, so might as well just, go down the path of self-destruction because of how, quarantine is making me feel. When on the other hand, we had the other group of people who didn't perceive quarantine to be that way. They've seen it as an opportunity to improve themselves and work towards something. A lot of things that happen to you in life, a lot of things that you go through in life, you don't even necessarily need to perceive them as negative. It's all about your perspective on it. So I'm basically saying that, there's no need for you to perceive any situation as bad. Just try to be positive about any and everything, even when things do hurt, because there, is a light in lots of situations. But that negativity is sometimes just so overpowering that the light is no longer visible. But, you have to overcome that and still be able to see the light. And, it's going to be difficult at first. I would say fake it until, it just feels so natural. But it's not even necessarily that you're faking being positive. It's just that your brain is, it's just been conditioned to, perceive a lot of things as negative because as humans, our brains naturally feed off of negativity and we pick up on negativity a lot easier than positivity. So let's say you're someone who perceives themselves in a negative light. You perceiving yourself in that negative way is going to project onto your external reality. If you're someone who constantly, tells themselves things like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm not intelligent, I'm incapable, that's going to show, and you're just going to naturally appear less confident to others. And, with that, since you have these negative beliefs about yourself, you'll act on these beliefs despite of the amount of conscious effort you put in to combat those negative beliefs about yourself. So, you know, when you're constantly telling yourself these things, you will believe it, which will lead to you acting on these beliefs, despite the amount of effort you put in to get rid of these beliefs or act opposite. You cannot act opposite if that's how you feel within. So if you're an individual who, you know, identifies with their anxiety, you know, you have this negative perception of yourself that, oh, I'm just so anxious, and you're constantly saying, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, I'm anxious, you are now identifying with that anxiety, and you must change that. You know, I know that's a lot easier said than done, but with consistent, you know, practice and effort, you can easily overcome that. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because, you know, it's not going to go away by itself. You cannot keep running from your anxiety. You can pop all the pills you want, you can keep running all you want. It is going to haunt you throughout your life. So you must do something about it. So instead of, you know, being anxious about talking to people, being fearful of talking to people, start talking to people. Practice. You know, you're not going to be perfect at first, but just do it. Stop being afraid of being perceived by people in a certain way. Stop caring about what they think. Stop caring for their validation. Because at the end of the day, what difference does it make whether or not you care? What difference in any scenario does it make whether or not you care what others think? You caring about what other people think isn't going to change a thing. It's just going to make things more difficult. So like I said, get into the habit of, you know, overcoming these things, you know, and you overcome these things by actually doing the things in real life. So yes, practice, you know, unlearning your anxious ways, and, you know, start identifying as someone who is confident, who knows what to say, and who is not anxious, you know, someone that can go into anything with ease. So develop a new self-image, develop a new identity. You can, you know, change any negative perception that you have on yourself anytime you choose. This is your life. You don't have to stay the same forever. You don't have to live in anxiety forever. You can change anything you would like about yourself. Any negative thing that you would like to change about yourself, you can. You can. And also with developing a more positive perception, you know, within yourself, you need to start being a lot more kind to yourself, you know. Stop, you know, saying negative things to yourself like, I'm this, I'm that. Any negative, like, don't speak negativity towards yourself. Don't speak negativity towards anything, but really to yourself. Because like I said, the more that you tell yourself things, the more that it becomes a belief. So start talking nicely to yourself. Do daily affirmations. I'll put my daily affirmations right here if you want to know. I do them every morning, and I do find these to be helpful. I know you hear people talk about daily affirmations all the time, and you probably feel like, oh, that's a bunch of BS. It won't work. And I'm here to tell you, how do you know if you didn't even try it? I know it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but how is speaking highly of yourself ridiculous? How is being kind to yourself ridiculous? You compliment others all the time, but you don't even take time to compliment yourself. The second thing that has led to me, you know, living a more fulfilling and happy life is simply practicing gratitude. You know, a lot of the times, a lot of people have such a negative perception on life because they don't practice gratitude. They're too unhappy focusing on the things that, you know, they wish to have, the things that don't even exist in the current moment. And that's not to say that, you know, the things that you dream of and, you know, are upset about not having will not manifest into reality, because that's far from the truth. Like I said, those things don't exist in this current moment. So there's no need for you to, you know, allow those things to make you feel unfulfilled and unhappy. and less positive about your life. Just focus on what's in front of you. Be grateful for what you do have, because things could be a lot worse. And you may not fully understand how important gratitude is until you actually apply it to your own life. Once you start practicing gratitude for real, you will learn to be happy with a little. You won't necessarily need a lot to feel fulfilled and happy, because you practiced gratitude and you're grateful for what you do have. And that's not to say that you're going to settle for it, but you're simply going to be patient and wait for better things to come, but still be grateful for what you do have in this current moment, because there's a lot to be grateful for, and you have a lot to be happy about in life. You're just too busy focusing on the negative that you're just so distracted from the things that you do have in your life to be grateful for. So the third thing that has essentially helped me live a more fulfilling and positive life is simply just engaging in positive habits, more meaningful habits, and starting self-improvement. Naturally, when you start self-improvement, you are going to become a more positive being. That's how I feel, at least. Like I said, perception is everything, but doing physical work in your life, is what's essentially going to shape everything for you. So do things that you've been meaning to do things that you've been wanting to do, start accomplishing things, start to do things so that you can feel good about life. You can't just do nothing about your life and expect to live a happy and fulfilling life. Yes, happiness does come from within, but when you do the physical work in your life is going to improve for you, and that is naturally going to improve your mood and improve your positivity. So yeah, just gain new experiences, do new things, get outside, talk to people more, be more social, be more open, learn something, just do something, do positive things, and you will receive positive results. Staring at the same four walls every day isn't necessarily going to lead to you having a positive mindset. And with engaging in, positive habits, stop, enabling your negative perception on yourself in life. Stop engaging in negative habits. That is essentially what's causing you to stay within that negative perception. You're just so used to fueling your life and your beliefs with negativity that you aren't, even able to, pick up on positivity in your own life. So you need to stop listening to sad music. You need to stop joking about your mental health. You need to overall just stop idolizing your negative perception on life, because that's not making it any better. And I know you probably don't want to hear this, but you need to hear it, because I already know how it is when somebody tries to combat your negative beliefs about your mental health or your negative perception. You don't want to hear it, and that's only because you're just so used to that being a part of your identity, and you need to let go of that identity, because like I said, you can acquire a new identity whenever you choose. It's your life. It's literally your life.